to the Big Dress Energy podcast, the podcast that's all about fashion psychology. It's not just about beauty, styles, looks, fashion. It's so much more. It's so deeper than that. And I'm your host, Shakeda Forbes-Bell, your favorite fashion psychologist and author of the best-selling book, Big Dress Energy, founder of the platform Fashion is Psychology, where we have our brand new course, Introduction to Fashion Psychology, a 12-week interactive course where you can learn more about the deeper meaning behind style, how to elevate your styling practice, how to improve your business, your research, everything. So check it out on fashionisspsychology.com. But anyway, back to why we are here today. This is week 2, our second episode of season 2 of this podcast. And I am delighted to have someone that I have been fangirling from afar for a long time. We have Jamelia Donaldson here today. Jamelia is the founder and CEO of TreasureTress. Try to say that 3 times fast. It's so hard, but it's an amazing business. It's a monthly product subscription service for girls and women with kinky and curly hair. And she's also the co-creator of the Teen Experience, which is a monthly workshop series which offers young Black women the ability to network with other like-minded individuals and to help them be inspired as a solution to the beauty industry's difficulty connecting with Black female consumers in the UK. Jamelia added a consultancy arm to TreasureTress as a way to guide brands on the unique experience of the Black UK natural hair consumer. TreasureTress has proven that natural hair and Black sisterhood can truly go hand in hand. So thank you so much, Jamelia, for joining us today. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm really good. I had a really restful weekend, so I feel like, been looking forward to this. I'm ready.
Honestly, if you follow Jamelia on Instagram, you know that she needs rest. This girl is out. If you follow on LinkedIn, actually, you'll know that she is always doing bits. So we need rest. That's important for you fellow entrepreneurs out there. Make sure you are keeping your mental health in check. And that's what we love about fashion psychology, beauty psychology. It's all about balance. So before we start, Jamelia, we ask everybody this question. What does Big Dress Energy mean to you?
Big dress energy to me means showing up and taking up space. I feel like the way you dress, the colors that you wear, the designs that you choose really allow you to express yourself outwardly before even opening your mouth and before even introducing yourself. And so a trick that I learned quite early on was that if I was ever going somewhere and I was like, didn't really know anyone, felt a little bit shy, imposter syndrome was starting to creep in, I would just wear like a super bright color. And it's always such a good conversation starter because someone's like, "Oh my God, I love your outfit." And then before you know it, you're speaking to someone new. So yeah, for me, it means taking up space.
I literally stand by that. I said those exact words so many times. I call them conversation starting outfits because you can be a bit shy, especially if you're entering these rooms with these very maybe intimidating people, like really important people. You have a lot to prove. It's nice to wear something that allows people to come to you. And I love that clothes can help you connect, build confidence, reach out to people, speak for you, like you said, without even saying a word. And the same is true for hair. I recently gone blonde, and I do feel like it's bringing out a different side to me than when I was wearing braids. That brought out another side to me. Like I'm someone, you will not see me in the same hair like month to month. I love to express, like many Black women anyway. I think our hair is a way of really showcasing who we are. And before we get more into the nitty-gritty of the psychology of hair and beauty, I want to talk more about your business, TreasureTress. So what drove you to start it?
So I started TreasureTress for a few different reasons. One of the reasons was that I was really frustrated with the lack of access that we had to quality products in the UK. So I'd spent a lot of time in the US and I was just always so taken aback by the number of options that they had for quality hair care products. And then when I got back to the UK and wanted to continue using those products, I found myself spending upwards of £80 a month buying stuff online, paying shipping, paying customs. And I was like, there has to be a better way to do this. So while I was in the US, I actually discovered the subscription box business model. And I was like, this is a really cool business idea. Like if no one does it by the time I get back to the UK, I'm going to launch it myself and see what happens. So said, so done, not as smoothly as it sounds. And then the second piece for me was the fact that my brother had just had a daughter. So I was having my first niece. And I remember one of my first things was like, I just really don't want her to have any insecurities around her hair or her appearance, because I know that when I was her age, for me, it was a big insecurity. Like I didn't feel like I was pretty because my hair wasn't straight. And I remember always comparing myself to other girls in my class who looked nothing like me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just didn't want her to grow up with that same beauty complex. I was like, let me create a company and a brand so that she can look to it, she can be a part of it,
Yeah.
and she can see herself reflected, and
Mm-hmm.
she can understand that her hair is beautiful in its natural state.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually quite a full circle moment because we recently won 100K in TV advertising on Channel 4.
I saw that.
And yeah, which I'm over the moon about. And on Thursday, we're shooting the ad. And they were like, who do you want to feature? And I was like, my niece. Like, she has to be in it because
Oh,
from day one, she was like the inspiration. So now she's going to be one of the main figures in the ad, which is really important to me.
oh, that's so beautiful. Oh God, she's gonna grow up and say, "Oh, Auntie Jamila, where's my shares?" This is like,
I know.
and I think that's great. And so, what were you doing before you started TreasureTress?
So before I started TreasureTress, I used to work in asset management.
Mm.
So when I had the idea for TreasureTress, I got it from the time that I spent interning in the US. So funny enough, I done fashion PR and entertainment PR when I was in New York.
Yeah,
I done some marketing in Beijing, came back to the UK, and I was like, I need to earn some money.
yeah,
Finance pays well, let me go into finance.
yeah.
And so I got an internship in finance. That internship turned into a grad position. And so I was there. And yeah, while I was working full time, I was building TreasureTress in the background and trying to balance the two without letting any of the balls drop.
God, what was that like? Like shifting industry and then juggling and ideas,
Oh my
balancing.
gosh.
Like, wow.
Shifting industry was not easy.
Mm.
I was completely new to the finance industry, so already trying to like build up my network there.
Yeah.
And then beauty is something that had always like hair has always come naturally to me. I've always known how to do hair. I've
Mm-hmm.
always been fascinated by product, but I didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
And so it is really tough when you don't have a network to call on to like make those introductions and to put you forward for things and to vouch for you. So I was literally building, it was almost like I was building two careers from scratch at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
which wasn't easy. And then balancing the two, it got to the point where it was impossible. I remember saying that like it wasn't my desire to be a full-time entrepreneur. If I could have balanced both, I would have,
Yeah.
but it just was not feasible.
Yeah.
I remember like so I used to work in quite an intense role where you had to be in the office for about 7:30, and then you would stay until 7:30 p.m. So literally a solid 12-hour shift.
Wow.
And it was a really important role. So it was one that you had to be like switched on and paying attention at all times. And I would do that role, then I would go home, immediately start working on TreasureTress, finish at like 2, 3 o'clock, wake up for 5 o'clock to do the whole thing again,
Yeah.
squeeze a little bit of TreasureTress in, get ready, get to the office. And I was doing that for like 8 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, 8 months. And then I was like, I can't continue to do both.
Mm-hmm.
I was so burnt out. Like my mental health was struggling. I had lost so much weight. My skin
Wow.
was breaking out. I was like, I have to just choose.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I'm in my early 20s. There's not much to lose. So let me just try this business idea and see what happens. And yeah, I just kept like relentlessly pursuing it for months upon years. And now we've hit 8 years, which is a really big milestone.
Oh, that's so brilliant. Congratulations. And yeah, I think I had a similar experience. Like I took that decision to quit my main job and go full
Mm,
time doing what you're doing. And it's nerve wracking. Like I was
right.
absolutely like frightened, and I didn't know if it was the right choice. And especially with the economy, it goes up and down. Like you never know when is
Yes.
the good time, but it can pay off if you're willing to work as hard like you are. I know, yeah, it can pay off. But
Yeah. I think there's never really a right time, in my
no,
opinion.
no, you can never tell.
Mm,
You're so correct. And before we shift gears, I do want to speak about TreasureTress, like the name.
yes.
I think sometimes we forget like that, and that's such the hardest part. I think for me, especially like with my book, like I didn't even come up with Big Just Energy. I always say like I can't get credit for that because I couldn't think of a title, think of a name of something that you hold so dear and that you're like.
Yeah.
It's so hard to think about that. So how did you come up with TreasureTress as a name?
I done like a brainstorm with some friends
Yeah.
and I was thinking like, what is it that I wanted the brand to communicate?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things was that I wanted it to be clear that like when you go on your hair journey, it takes you on like a whole nother journey. So when
Yeah.
I decided to stop straightening my hair, I thought I was just making like a cosmetic decision. Like I'm just going to change my hairstyle.
Yeah.
When in reality, it made me face so much. Like I began to think like, why have I always equated straight hair with beauty? Like what's that about?
Yeah.
And oh, like, what is my standard of beauty? Why is it that? And oh, what am I eating? And
Mm,
because when you start focusing on your hair, you want it to grow, you want it to flourish, you want to look at your diet, you want to look at your routines. And so it's almost like it took me on this whole other journey of like uncovering so many other layers of myself.
mhm,
And so I kind of compared it to like a treasure chest. Like you open it, but you don't know what's inside. And so
mm.
it's almost like my natural hair journey made me open that treasure chest.
Yeah.
And then when I opened it, there were so many other things I hadn't explored, like beauty standards, self-esteem, like culturally, how we gauge our beauty, where those pressures come from,
Mhm.
how we treat our body inside and out. There were so many different layers to it.
Yeah.
And then equally, I was like, what's a synonym for hair? And so tress is a synonym for hair. And I was like, oh, what
Mhm.
if I just put the two together? So it's treasure tress,
Yeah.
but does sound like treasure chest, which speaks to that concept of like, you
So
start your
deep.
natural hair journey and you don't quite know where it's going to take you. But then once you open it, there's so many beautiful things inside.
Yeah.
And equally, when you get the box, you don't know what's inside. You don't know what's in the box until it arrives.
Mhm.
Then when you open it, it's like this magical experience of like, oh my God, wow, I've got all of these products. I didn't know what I was getting.
Mhm.
So yeah, a mixture of the words treasure chest and then tress being a synonym for hair.
Beautiful. And I know you've talked a lot about your journey, your natural hair journey. So
Mhm.
our audience with Big Just Energy is like super far and wide. We do have a lot of like Black women who might understand that, but we have women from all ethnicities, all background who might not necessarily be aware of what the natural hair journey is. Maybe can you elaborate
Mhm.
that a bit more?
Sure, natural hair journey, and I think it's literally a journey. I think describing it as a natural hair journey is the best use of language that I've heard of, because it's like your decision to start taking care of your hair, and equally like learning your hair from scratch. So growing up and even how we were socialized was to like wear your hair in a way that looks presentable to everyone else, which basically emulates like the aesthetic of everyone else.
Mhm.
So when you decide to go on your natural hair journey, it doesn't mean that you don't want to straighten your hair anymore. You don't want to wear wigs. You don't want to wear
Yeah.
weaves. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you want to explore your hair and just figure out how you can get your hair to be at its optimum health.
Mhm.
And for some women, that is wearing their hair in braids. For some women, it is protecting their hair with weaves and wigs. And for other women, it's like playing around with their hair and wearing their hair in braids out, braid outs, buns, wash and goes. And so ultimately, your hair journey is like the journey that you go on to discover how to take better care of your hair versus the way that we've been trained to do it, which haven't always been the most healthy practices.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a journey and it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I remember when it was for me, it was really weird. So I had one cousin that she had started to get really into the natural hair movement when it was super popping on YouTube. I can't remember
Mhm,
when it was, the early like 2010s. And she was telling us all about it. And her hair had gone from being super damaged to just so healthy and retaining length. And she went all to all the cousins and aunties, like one by one, like preaching this gospel of natural hair. And one day I literally was in my auntie's house, all my cousins, aunties around me, and they were like, cut off your perm ends, just do it now. And I was like, I don't know. But then they just decided, and literally one of my aunts and cousins, they just took scissors and they cut off all of my permed ends. And it did feel, it was absolutely
without your
terrifying.
consent.
I know, no, I had to have my consent, but it felt
Okay.
so liberating in the sense that, yeah,
Mm,
like it really made me, I was still young at the time, but like maybe in my early 20s, late teens. And I think it really made me confront what it meant to be beautiful, I think, in my eyes. And
mm,
I've been natural since, and I'm still exploring like my working with my natural hair and like maybe adding pieces or adding wigs and adding weaves. And I still think there's more to go because now we've seen
mhm,
conversations online about, okay, when you're wearing these wigs, you're wearing like, I'm wearing straight hair and I'm blonde, and how am I perceiving myself? Like, what does that mean? And what could it mean when I'm wearing my hair just out as it is? Or the main, like even manipulating the type of curls that we have, like when we have our curls out, putting tons of product in it and not leaving it out. Like, where's the difference? Like, there's just so much nuance there. And I want people to realize
mhm.
that, like, especially for Black women, it's way deeper than that. And I'm sure
Yeah.
that's something that you've probably experienced personally as well, like you mentioned.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's like layers to the natural hair journey and the natural hair community. And I think a lot of people stand at a few different points on the spectrum.
Mhm.
Um, so there are women who believe that like you have to wear your natural hair, no products at all, like just
Mm,
embrace it in its natural state. And
yeah.
then there's others that are like a little bit more experiential. I'm definitely on that end of the spectrum. Like I love playing around with products. I love playing around with styles.
Mhm.
And as mentioned, like clothes, I do just see it as like a it's like an accessory. It's something to be played with. It's a
Yeah.
way to express yourself. And I do think that there is some liberation in Black women having the agency to wear their hair however they want.
Yeah.
I think even trying to like force natural hair and like no product and only wear your hair this way, I
Yeah.
think it does bring us back to like the restriction that we've experienced in the past, which is like trying to only fit one version of beauty and one version of hair care, when in reality there's loads of different ways that you can care for your hair. Some people's hair thrives in protective styles, some people's hair doesn't. Some people's hair thrives being left alone, some people's hair thrives being deep conditioned every week without fail. And
Mhm.
it's just that part about hair being so personal to us and
Yes.
us doing what works well for us, but that does require you to take some time out and really focus in on yourself,
Mhm.
pay attention to yourself and pay attention to your hair and what your hair does like and dislike,
Yes.
because sadly there's no shortcuts. Like you can't just copy and paste someone else's hair care routine
Mm.
and the products they use and expect the same results, because that's not how it works. It is a really personal journey. And
Yes.
I think that just that the uniqueness of it does force you to consider like how you approach so many other things in life. Like how many other areas of your life are you trying to just copy and paste someone else's formula and hope that it works for you? Sorry, I forgot I had this one here.
You've got those multiple phones, businesswoman. She's always on call. But
Sorry.
no, I completely agree with what you're saying. And last season we had Dr. Afia on, and she is
Mm,
a hair psychologist. I don't know if you've seen her work, but she's so brilliant. She's produced papers and research that actually talks about when you're getting your hair done, it's a form of therapy, and it can like reduce
mm.
anxiety and make you feel good. And you mentioned earlier that you've always done hair. I wanted you, maybe can you elaborate on the experience of getting your hair done versus doing it yourself? Like, have you ever known, like, what's the kind of difference there? Do you feel like differently in those different scenarios?
Yeah. So the ironic thing is that I've literally just booked an appointment to get my hair done in about 3 hours time.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and it took me a long time to figure out like who I would trust to do my hair.
Mhm.
I'm just getting it like washed, blow dried, and trimmed,
Nice.
because I need it to be fresh for the shoot.
Yeah.
But equally, it took me a really long time to decide who I was going to use, because in the past I've had some quite horrific experiences at salons. I've asked for color, and the colors come out like completely different, or my hair's been super damaged. I found it really hard to retain length when I was going to hair salons, because the default was literally like, yep, your hair needs to be cut, your hair needs to be cut, your hair needs to be cut. And
Mm.
it's not until I started taking care of my own hair that I was actually able to retain length and like see growth
Yeah.
tangibly. But my relationship with salons isn't the best, but I will put that down to the fact that I've probably just not invested enough time in finding the right salon.
Yeah.
But DIY in my hair is something that I love, and it's like my form of therapy. It's literally like a Friday night. It's like my routine. It's what I know I'm doing. It's me spending time with myself, me spending time just pampering myself.
Mhm.
And I really, really enjoy it. I
Yeah.
know that some women don't really enjoy their hair, but I absolutely love doing my hair.
Mhm.
And so yeah, my relationship with the salon, hopefully after today it will be much improved.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I prefer to DIY my hair because I like the control and I like the like therapeutic feel of just detangling my hair, applying deep
Mhm.
conditioner, steaming my hair. Love
Yeah.
it.
I think what you're speaking about, having a sense of control, that has been proven to make us feel happier and increase our well-being. So I
Mm,
definitely understand that. And I love how you talk about the process. I think a lot of times we think too much about the end result, and that's why
yeah.
we're not getting the self-care benefits from doing hair.
That's a good
Out
point.
and look at the end, but you talked about the detangling, like the washing, like picking the products, like all of that. That is self-care. And from a psychological perspective, I think it's about being in that flow state where you're just at
Yeah.
one, you're not scrolling on your phone, you're not doing any work, you're just spending time with you, and you're fully ingratiated in the task. And I love
Hmm.
that's literally what you're saying, right? It's just all about that self-care and having control. And it makes sense why you'd have that hesitation to go into salons if you have a bad experience. Like there's so much
Yeah.
research that talks about a bad hair day, like really damaging your self-concept, like your self-confidence. It can have such
Hmm.
a negative impact. And if you've experienced that over and over again, which a lot of women have been experiencing lately, especially Black women, it's tough.
Hmm.
I guess TreasureTress gives people the opportunity to have more control and have those like
Absolutely.
products and to do things for themselves.
Yeah, and to explore products without completely breaking the bank, because the boxes are a standard fee every month or as frequently as you choose to receive them.
Yeah.
But equally, it's to open your eyes to like the range of products that are out there,
Yes.
because sometimes we feature brands that have been around for ages, but you've just never considered it. And women are
Mm,
like, oh my God, this is my new favorite. Why haven't I tried this sooner?
yeah.
And equally, there's new brands that come out and it's like, oh my God, I've never heard of this. Or, oh my goodness, I've been waiting to try this.
Yeah.
So for me, it's really important that we like reinstall that wonder, that curiosity
Hmm.
around our hair, so that we do think, oh, I wonder how my hair will react to this. I wonder if I'll like this.
Yeah.
Because how often do we spend that much time like getting to know ourselves and just giving ourselves that undivided attention?
Hmm. And I love that talking about as well, like products you might not know is for you. Like I've seen
Hmm.
some black women say that products that might be marketed for straighter hair, or like maybe European hair, is what wonders for them. And for
Yeah.
example, like Mealy Organics, which I think has been marketed for like black hair, curly hair, a lot
Hmm.
of like women, white women with straight hair, they've said like the rosemary oil and all that has really helped them with growth.
Yeah, they're loving
Is
it.
that something? Yeah, is that something that you've had experience with TreasureTress? People saying like they found you.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So we have quite a few like multi-ethnic families, mixed race families,
Hmm.
whereby like the children are mixed race and the mum's got naturally straight hair. And she's like, "Do you know what? I tried these products and they work well for me. I just don't use as much." And
Mm.
equally, there's brands that we featured that are marketed for straight hair,
Yeah.
and we've been like, "Look, just give it a try. Like, try this shampoo and conditioner."
Hmm.
And people have been like, "Do you know what? I would have never picked it up, but it works so, so well." So it is a lot to do with the marketing and the communication and just making it feel relevant and appropriate
Yeah.
for natural hair. It doesn't always come down to the formulation. Sometimes it is just the packaging and
Hmm.
like what is the story that you're telling through your marketing,
Yeah.
and what does that tell a consumer that doesn't look like your typical consumer?
Yeah. And just speaking about, yeah, your consumers. So what would you say is like the emotional impact of TreasureTress, like for not just consumers, but for yourself as well, like having those products and when you get it and having the control? What else do you think is going on in the mind of the consumer when they're getting this every month? Yeah.
Ooh, that's a great question. I think some of the feedback that we've received is like, it's Christmas every month, so it feels like something that has been gifted to them personally,
Hmm.
which they otherwise wouldn't really treat themselves.
Yeah.
Another comment that I've heard, I saw one the other day actually, that said this lady or a influencer that we work with called Tahira,
Hmm.
she was saying that her daughter's only ever experienced hair care being delivered directly to her doorstep,
Oh,
and that for me was like epic.
nice.
I was like, level of luxury
Yeah.
that I want us all to get used to. Like, forget the old ways of getting new hair products. Like, let's just get them delivered to our doorstep.
Yeah.
I think self worth and self value and self esteem is a big part of it, because they're
Mm.
actually able to see a company that reflects, speaks directly to them, and caters to their hair needs.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we just kind of want it to feel like self love and self care in a box that's delivered directly to you, so that you don't have to leave the house.
Yeah, I love that. And can you tell us about maybe some of your favorite products right now? I know that can change a lot. Like, what are you loving? Can you tell us?
What am I loving right now? So we just opened, well, we didn't just open. In September, we opened our store in Birmingham.
Mhm.
And so I've been trying a lot of new products that have been on the shelves there. So I recently tried Amika's Bond Repair Conditioner,
Ooh.
which is a really good deep conditioner.
Mhm.
I was a little bit hesitant because the bottle isn't as big as like other conditioners that I use.
Yeah.
But once I used it, I was like, yeah, I'm locked in. I'm
Yeah.
definitely getting more of this. So definitely that brand.
Mhm.
Pattern's always a favorite and flies off the shelf. Plant Made is
Oh,
also a favorite that always flies off the shelves.
yeah.
And in addition to those, oh, there's another brand called Ori Lifestyle, and they've got this charcoal shampoo, which is just brilliant. It's a clarifying shampoo, so it does really remove all of your product buildup. But it's just a really nice consistency. I love it, and it's a black-owned brand, so that's always a plus.
Oh, that's so nice. Some great gems there. I really wanted to try Pattern. I've been seeing it like a while, and I'm
You
glad
have
it's living up to the hype.
to.
Oh, that's so
Yes, you
good.
have to. Send me your address so that I can send you some, because it will
Oh,
not
you don't have to tell me twice. I'll be sending that to you immediately. But let's switch gears just a bit. You, like me, you love a bit of research. I've been seeing
Mhm.
a recent trend report, which is great. I love when we're not just talking the talk, we actually have tangible like numbers, facts, and figures to back what we're talking about. And your
Yeah.
trend report talks about the untapped opportunity in the UK hair market and the data
Mhm.
found on Black British customers. Can you just tell us a bit more about what you found?
Sure. The findings were endless. So we first
Mhm.
done a white paper,
Yeah.
then we followed it up with the trend report. And the main things that we wanted to highlight was the not only the spending habits of Black British consumers in beauty, which otherwise weren't quantified anywhere,
Yeah.
but we equally wanted to highlight the differences between Black British consumers and African American consumers.
Mm.
Because what I found when I was doing a lot of research for TreasureTress was one, that the data didn't exist,
Mhm.
and two, I had to rely on data around African American consumers,
Yeah.
and three, I found a lot of brands just doing like a copy and paste job on their marketing campaigns. Like, okay, this worked in the US, it's going to work in the UK. And I was like, it doesn't quite work like that. Like, there are some quite key differences culturally between the two regions, and those need to be respected when you're launching your marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
So, one of the really big differences was that almost 50% of African American women shop for hair products in supermarkets versus only 1% of Black British women shopping for hair products in supermarkets.
Mm.
That's a massive disparity. But equally, as a Black woman, I'm sure you're not surprised, because I doubt you go to Tesco to do your hair shop.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But I think
it's
I
not,
saw you know, olive oil, like the setting spray. One time I was like,
yeah,
when did that happen? But that's like rare. Like you would never
yeah.
go with the mindset of buying your hair products in a supermarket. Not in the
Yeah,
UK.
you don't. But for Americans, it's like something so natural and so normal.
Mhm.
And again, it speaks to for me, it speaks volumes about like how valuable you think the consumer is,
Yeah.
because clearly the black dollar counts in America, which is why they're like, wherever we can cater to this consumer, we will. I don't feel like the Black British consumer is held with the same regard, because
Mm.
if if supermarkets had a wide range of beauty products and had like a substantial beauty aisle, there's no doubt that while you're going to get your bread and your milk and your eggs, you would also get your shampoo, deep conditioner, and leave-in. Like, it just makes
Yeah.
sense. It's easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't seem as though anyone's really paying attention to it,
Mhm.
and they haven't tapped into that opportunity yet. So
Mm.
that's still in the works. Another thing which I think we know, but again, it was really powerful to put numbers next to it, was the fact that Black women account for 2% of the population, but 10% of the spend on beauty in the UK. And again, clearly we over-index on our spend on beauty, but it just doesn't make sense that we're not catered to in the same way.
Mhm.
And one of the examples that we used was that we went into one of the high street stores and looked at the range for natural hair versus the range for quote unquote naturally straight hair.
Mhm.
And it was massively different. And the section for natural hair was comparable to the clearance rack. They were literally the same
Mhm.
size. And I
Yeah.
was like, how does this make sense? Like, and in addition to that, why are the products for natural hair so separate from the hair care aisle altogether?
Yeah.
Like, why can't they operate from the same space? Because as we've discussed, a lot of products are crossover products, which you can use on both hair types. And again, I just think it speaks to that like alienation of Black
Mm.
consumers, whereby like, if you just go over there and get your products, well, it's almost like we have to experience beauty differently, when actually we don't. We just need more options.
I love that. Experiencing beauty differently is definitely something I think most Black women can attest to. And the kind of otherness is something that
Yes.
is quite damaging. And psychologically, it can make you feel maybe subconsciously even that you're slightly less than, or you have to do
Hmm.
differently. You have to work a bit harder. And it can be quite
Absolutely.
challenging. And something I want to talk about as well, on like there's been a trending video that's going around in Peckham of
Mm.
a hair shop. If you didn't know this, so there's a hair shop in Peckham where a customer tried to come in. I think vaguely the story is that she tried to return something. She was a Black woman, and the shop owner ended up physically assaulting her, and a lot of people boycotted that shop in response. And one of the undertones in the conversation was is that a lot of the establishments which are selling Black hair products are not people from our culture. They're not Black people, so they have this disparity there. I want you to, can you elaborate on like why you think it's so important for you as a Black woman to be selling and catering to a Black audience, or to be able to showcase Black owned products? Like, why do you think that that's so important, when a lot of the times Black women have to experience going outside of our ethnicity, outside of our culture, to people that may not necessarily, I don't know, get it?
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that clip in particular, I tried to avoid it as much as I could,
Yeah.
and there was just no avoiding it. But
Mm.
equally, it was so horrific to watch, but it wasn't unbelievable. I wasn't shocked.
Mm.
I wasn't like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this has
Yeah.
happened. It was kind of like, yeah, like it just didn't seem as alien as it should have because it was a very, very violent clip.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, I think it was just like a manifestation of how we're treated in hair shops anyway, which is like othered, treated like a criminal, followed around, but equally there's no assistance, there's no direction because no one understands your hair, but equally no one's taken the time to get to know the consumer that they've been serving for how many decades now,
Yeah.
which I just think is really disappointing. And again, it's just a missed opportunity, but I don't think that they've been required to do that. I think
Mm.
that I don't think that I just don't think we've required that of them. I think we've lowered our standards because we had nowhere else to go. So by default, we
Mm.
went there. And because we were operating from a place of necessity, we weren't able to demand like decent things like decent customer service, product knowledge, clear terms and conditions when you're buying products,
Yeah.
even trust that the products that are being sold are actually authentic and original and not
Yeah.
duplicates.
Mm.
Dupes, sorry. So yeah, it was shocking, but it wasn't that shocking. I
Yeah.
think the importance of being sold products by someone that looks like you, I think it just goes back down to that representation piece. It's like, why is it so important to see black women on TV?
Yeah.
Because everyone needs to see themselves reflected in society. It helps boost our self-confidence. It helps expand our mind as far as like what the possibilities are. It just helps in so many different respects. And when it comes to being sold products, you want to take advice from someone who understands your challenges. Even if their hair isn't identical, you at least want to buy from someone who has some concern and some regard for
Yeah.
not only your health, your wellness, but also your product selection.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we hear a lot, especially now that we've got the store open, which is it's so good to receive first-hand advice and like your team really know what they're talking about. And
Yeah.
I've learned so much about products and I really trust you guys because you guys really took the time to listen to what my hair needs and then provided me with the solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's so much value in that. It ultimately comes down to trust. And that's why brands use like influencers and talent to help to try and bridge that gap of trust because for a lot of brands they are so disconnected from the consumer they
Mm-hmm.
can't connect with them themselves, so they have to rely on other people to do so,
Mm-hmm.
in addition to the other benefits of course of
Yeah.
working with talent. And so it's almost like that trust piece becomes kind of inherent when you look like your consumer because they can immediately think, yeah, okay, cool. Let me see your hair. Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
trust you. What did you use on your hair? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I'm going to use that as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's just that familiarity piece, it's that trust piece,
Mm-hmm.
and equally it's that accountability piece. Like as a black
Mm-hmm.
woman, I trust that you're going to give me the right advice.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I love that because you want to, yeah, have that positive reflection, but know that
Mhm.
something that you hold so important is being held in trustworthy hands.
Yes.
But maybe can you speak to why you think that hair in general is just so important to people? Like, why do you think it can literally shift your mood and shift your perspective and impact your well-being, which it has been proven to do? Like, what is it about hair specifically, do you think?
Yeah. I think it's so powerful for so many reasons. I feel like there is so much history wrapped up in our hair
Mm-hmm.
because literally looking at someone's hair, you can tell their ethnicity and you
Mm.
can almost tell like the story of their family tree, which is really important.
Mhm.
Um, Even down to religion and lifestyle, a lot of
Mhm.
what like your religious practices can sometimes be reflected in the way that you wear your hair. For
Yeah.
example, if you wear a hijab, it's clear that you follow a certain faith. If
Mhm.
you wear your hair locked, there's a high possibility that you're Rastafarian, and so you follow that religion.
Mhm.
There's a lot to be said about it. Even when we think about like slavery times, there's a lot to be said about the way that braids were worn and
Mhm.
the fact that maps were literally mapped out in our hair through the use of braids, which is so intelligent and so magical, even down to the fact that a lot of black women were forced to wrap their hair because it was said that the slave masters' wives were jealous of their hair. And so they had to wrap up their hair so it wasn't a distraction to anyone else. I think since the beginning of time, our hair's been so magical.
Mhm.
And even the way that it defies gravity, it literally does the opposite of what everyone else's hair does, which I think is really, really powerful. And yeah, as a black woman, I think you're just born with the knowledge that like your hair is your crown,
Yeah.
and to some women, they feel liberated in shaving that off and actually not having any hair
Hmm.
and making that decision for themselves. And for other women, they adorn their hair with jewelry and shells and
Yeah.
lots of other accessories. It just really is a key part of our self expression. It's one of the first things people notice when they see you.
Hmm.
And ironically, I think we've all been socialized such that the way that you wear your hair does actually dictate how a lot of people treat you in society,
Mm.
which is something that I think Black women can definitely attest to.
Yeah.
There's so many videos of women being like, when I wear my hair in weave, this is how I'm treated. When I wear my hair natural,
Oh.
this is how I'm treated. When I
Mhm.
wear my hair in a bun, this is how I'm treated.
Yeah.
Um, so it's so much more than just hair for Black women because our history has made it that way.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think in general as well, like you said, it's about having control over how you're being perceived. Like you said, like
Mm,
with this knowledge about how you approach in different scenarios, you can either buy into that and lean into that, or you can decide to reject from that and change your hair in order to kind of
yes.
work around that. And it's even interesting, like, you know, like Britney Spears, her recent memoir came out, and she talks about deciding to shave her hair because she literally didn't want to be perceived anymore. Like she didn't want to be
Mm,
it's like she wanted to rid herself from that image that was so ingrained and like the control and everything. And I think that's a powerful testament about how your hair and like deciding what to do with it can be so freeing. Even like the story, I don't know if you guys heard of Willow Smith when she was very
yes.
young. Hopefully the younger audience might be aware of like Whip My Hair. That was a banger back in the day, and she had these
Yes.
long dreadlocks, and she was a kid, and it was almost like she was like working a serious job, going on tour, and she told her dad, Will Smith, that she didn't want to do it anymore, so she decided to shave her hair in protest on the Whip My Hair tour. And I think again, these are examples of how like taking control of your hair, changing it, can be
Mhm,
very freeing. It can be very emotional experience as well, and that's why hair is so personal.
mhm,
We should be inspired maybe by what people are doing, but it should be something that's very like individual to us and something that we're very sure about, clued up on, using the right products, like getting all the information to make sure that it's a good experience, because it means so much. And I'm sure you
mhm,
agree with TreasureTress. And um, I want to ask again about like hair care as well. Like, do you
mhm.
have, so we talked about like why it's so important, again, from an emotional, psychological perspective, to really take pride and take care in your hair. So, do you have any hair care tips that you think might be a bit universal, or things that you think are really like important that people should try to incorporate into their routines?
Absolutely, absolutely. I would say, as a minimum, adopt a four-step routine. So start with shampooing.
Mm-hmm.
Step one, shampoo. Step two, condition or deep condition. I would say the thicker your hair is, definitely opt for a deep conditioner.
Okay.
Third, a leave-in conditioner. I can't believe that I used to try to style my hair without a leave-in conditioner. I wouldn't dream of doing it today.
Mhm.
Step three is a leave-in conditioner, and you can even apply that when your hair's wet and you can let it air dry,
Mhm.
or you can apply a leave-in conditioner, a heat protectant, and then blow dry your hair. But just don't skip that leave-in stage because we really do need that injection of more moisture.
Mhm.
And then step four is either a gel, oil, or a serum to help style your hair
Mhm.
and to lock in that moisture. So I would say at an absolute minimum, those four steps.
Yeah.
Then I'd say if you've got textured hair, don't underestimate the power of detangling your hair while it's wet
Mhm.
with deep conditioning or conditioning product in it because it will make your life so much easier. And also work in sections. Don't try to tackle it all in one go. It's a
Yeah.
recipe for disaster.
So, are you a fan of the detangler brush or the white tooth comb?
I'm a detangler brush.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wide tooth comb doesn't do much for me.
yeah, yeah. I feel like everyone's on the detangler brush wave, and there's like new scientific kind of different bristles ones that people can invest. But detangling is definitely, something that I think we all need to embrace. Doesn't matter maybe the tightness of your curls. I think everyone should should be tangling. Make sure that the product works
Absolutely.
through. Yeah. So there you have it, guys. Jamilia's steps in order to take care of your hair. So TreasureTress is a behemoth now. Like you said, you opened your own store in Birmingham. I hope we can expect more
Yeah.
stores. Like, yeah, I know you talked about you took a rest this weekend, which was great. Can you talk more about like building a business, like how maybe it can be challenging on your mental health and unexpected tools that you might have discovered that you think could
Mm,
benefit other people who are like you on their like CEO entrepreneurship journey?
yeah, I would say skills that I've developed over time. I would probably say instead of skills, it was more like reframing the way that I looked at things and equally
Mm,
leveraging more resources. So, for example, gym, I think I always grew up thinking that gym was just a place that you went to like get your body right and tight, and that was it. But since then, I've let go of any real goals when it comes to the gym. Like
mm,
my goal is to get there
yeah.
and to sweat, hopefully. Um, Primarily because I know that in just doing that, it will improve my mental health and like improve my tenacity, improve my determination, improve my mental strength by improving my physical strength.
Mhm.
So I would say that the gym and the way that I think about it has completely changed.
Yeah.
One of the key things that might be a bit surprising but has been a game changer for me has been like creating more distance between me as a person and my business.
Mm,
And I actually heard another woman speak about it in a podcast, and she had built like this super successful business. And I was like, okay, I'm on the right path,
yeah.
because she mentioned that when we start businesses, we would refer to our business as like our baby. And she was like, your business is not your baby, your business is a business.
Mm,
And I think it helps you make more strategic decisions, because now it doesn't feel like you're making decisions as a person. It feels like you're making decisions that are right for the business,
brilliant.
as opposed to making businesses that feel right for you,
Yeah.
because everyone wants to be a good person, everyone wants to bless everyone, everyone wants to be super generous, but the reality is that you're building a business,
Mhm.
and so you need to make business decisions.
Mm,
um in addition to that, I would say therapy has been massive.
mhm.
Like, I can't explain how many therapy sessions I've spent talking about work related things,
Mm,
because it's tough, it's taxing, and it can feel very relentless, because even if you're not at work, like I was literally in a steam room yesterday thinking like, okay, first thing I'm going to do tomorrow morning is go back to that person on email because blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
Like it doesn't really come off your mind. You think about it all the time.
Mhm.
And so I think having space to just offload without the guilt of like complaining to one of your friends
Yeah.
is definitely a huge help. And yeah, just having that safe space is super valuable.
Oh, I think that's brilliant. So, like gym, distance, and therapy, talking to the lady. We
Mhm.
all need to do that. And
Yeah.
I'm going to take on that advice actually about separating yourself. Like, I think, yes,
Mm,
building your business is your baby. I used to say, yeah, my book's my baby, my first baby. But then maybe if it doesn't do well or if you get a bad review, then it's like you're not doing well, you're getting the bad review. But
exactly. And you start to personalize things. And
yeah,
it's a critique of the thing that you've created,
yeah,
and it's critique that will help you improve it.
mm,
Whereas if you take it on board personally, you start to think, oh my God, I'm a bad person.
yeah,
Oh my God, people don't like me. Oh my, and no, that's not what it means. Like,
no,
it just means that there's something to be improved on in the business as opposed to you as an individual.
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there's probably stuff that we can learn personally as well, but I
Mm.
don't think it's healthy to take all feedback personal when it comes to your business.
No, I definitely think that's a really good piece of advice. And I think it's so needed, especially now where everybody feels like they're a brand in their own right. Like we don't really
Hmm.
post now just because, oh, like it used to be fun. And now it's like, okay, like, am I tagging the right brand? Like, am I looking like this? Like this, like you're always
Mm,
thinking about the end result. So
yeah.
yeah, having that distance, I think that's brilliant. And I hope people listening will adhere to that advice.
Hmm.
And then just sticking on like the theme of business, just about the beauty industry, you're so embedded in it, like, and you've done so much research. Like, could you speak to what you think the future of beauty will look like, and what do you think it will look like, and what do you think it should look like as well?
um, I'm gonna say that what it will look like, I'm hoping will be aligned with what it should look like.
Mhm.
And I think ultimately beauty is gonna be more multicultural and more diverse than it ever has been, because it's gonna have no choice but to.
Yeah.
By the end of the century, 75% of the UK will be mixed race. So there's no room for the exclusion of like shades and textures because we're going to be the majority. And so I think a lot of the progress in beauty is going to come down to personalization, how people can customize things to suit them. I think a lot of the hair trends are going to mirror the beauty trends, I mean, the skincare trends, like the use of active ingredients. Those are all of the themes that are carrying over to hair care at the moment. But I think from a consumer standpoint, it's going to look like a lot more catering to diverse, multi ethnic Black consumers because that's going to make up the majority of the population. And to be honest, we're already the global majority. So it kind of only makes sense for the world to start catering to a lot of its citizens.
Yeah, I think so. And I think your business model and the subscription boxes is definitely going to rise. I just was reading a research paper about why we love online shopping so much, and because we get that dopamine rush and it's that anticipation. And like you said, it feels like Christmas every month, like knowing you're going to get this like guaranteed reward is something that makes people feel good, and they're craving that. And it's something that is a necessity as well, like you said, like investing in your hair with good products that reflect who you are and going to take care of something that's so important to us with your hair. It's important, and it's good from yes, an aesthetic standpoint, but from an emotional standpoint too, which is what we all need right now. So I think it's so brilliant. I'm such a fan, Jamelia. Can you tell us a bit more about where people can find out about you, about TreasureTress, any new news that you might want to share, or just any insights more about your business that people want to know?
Sure. So you can follow me on social media, Instagram and TikTok at Jamelia is Obsessed. And TreasureTress is TreasureTress across all of the platforms. And we've got a page specifically for our pop-ups. So if you want inside info, if you want to know where we're going to pop up next, follow TreasureTress pop-up. At the moment, we're in the Bullring, Upper West, between TK Maxx and Trapstar. So come and find us. We're going to be open for a few more weeks, and we're going to be running promos until the point of closing. And equally, we've just launched online the capability for you to build your own box. So if you can't make it down to the pop-up shop, but you want to build a custom box, go onto our website, build your own box, and then, select the products that work for you.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much. Please bring the pop-up to London. Like, I need to visit. I know Birmingham.
You know what? Everyone's saying that.
Yeah.
We've done London so many times. We've done London
London
3
agreed. We think we're the main character in the UK. I think that's why people in Birmingham are like, shut up, we don't get the good stuff. But
we're definitely doing something big in London next year. So
excited. Well, thank you so much for joining. Thank you everybody for listening. This was the Big Just Energy podcast season 2. If you want to find out more about me or my work I'm doing, it's at Shakayla Elise on all socials, and Fashion is Psychology as well. fashionisPsychology.com/courses, where you can find out about all of the research I talked about in this podcast. It's all going to be in the course. You can learn more. It's interactive. It's fun. Find out about it. We have a new way to purchase the course as well. You can spread out the cost over a few months. So check out fashionisPsychology.com. And thanks for listening, and see you next week. Bye.